Welcome to the United States of America podcast. I am Niti and we are broadcasting live from the Food Church here in North Carolina. If you've missed past episodes, please be sure to take the time to watch the first episode and then watch the rest like a documentary. We are people at peace, and we have declared peace to all nations around the world. This is not a marketing or a promotional channel. We are shining a light on knowledge that is being hidden from you, and we are sharing the truth about your birthright and your inheritance. We have moderators who are assisting in the comment section. Please be kind and self-governed, and if you have any questions, please put them in all caps and only enter them once per show. Today, I was supposed to be joined on air with Hudson Roberts, the co-coordinator on Idaho, but Hudson's a little bit under the weather, and so it's okay. We are going to go over a few other things. I wanted to share with everybody today this article. It's actually going back. Because Hudson and I are going to be kind of breaking down several things as in the coming weeks. And so I thought it was appropriate to go over this article with you guys. So I'm just going to kind of read over it with you and go over some of my thoughts with it. And also, if you have any comments, then you guys can, feel free to share those and we can go over those, right? So Anna wrote this back in 2015, April 9th, and she's saying Americans in denial. And she's telling us, hey guys, it's in the box. It's the box. It's not the process, but the box. Like, pretend you have 10 mice in a wooden box and they all want to get out. Every other week, we hear about some new hole in the box, some new quote unquote freedom process. However, the problem remains because the problem is the box. The box is built of fraud, identity theft, probate fraud, personage, beartree, semantic deceit, and false claims in commerce. It's time to quit scurrying around and trying to escape the box. It's time to destroy the box. The truth sets you free permanently without any big expense, without any lengthy process, without any danger of being sucked back in again. The truth is that you've been defrauded, right? And mischaracterized by the people on your payroll. So what do you do about that? Do you fire them? Not by struggling to overcome Diebold machines, not by any armed revolution, but just by exposing their fraud and criminality before the whole world. Like, the truth shall set you free, right? Well, our comic book, something is wrong when an American affidavit of probable cause, it exposes the great fraud in words and images that you can understand without a law degree or a magnifying glass. So with an investment of a couple of hours of reading and just $10 or $20 in printing costs, you can understand exactly how we got into this mess and who's responsible for it, right? Among other amazing fun facts, you'll learn that the state, quote unquote, isn't the state you think it is. There are multiple constitutions. There are multiple United States. There are multiple kinds of quote unquote citizens. There's a lot of statuses. And democracy is not a good thing. What you've mistaken as your government isn't even a government at all. There are no war powers. The United States of America hasn't functioned as a sovereign nation in 150 years. And if that isn't enough to wet your whistle, you will also learn that Britain has used fraud and press ganging as a means to retain its empire. The entire planet has been controlled to a greater or lesser extent for 700 years by the Holy See. The bar associations, literally, and in fact, have operated as privateers and criminal syndicates on our shores. I'm going to just go back to the Holy See for a minute. I don't think most people comprehend that all the kings and the kingdoms and what they were all crowned by the Pope. So that's the Holy See, all right? They all got their powers from the Holy See. or they got their crown from the Holy See. The bar associations literally and in fact have operated as privateers and criminal syndicates on our shores. What about how FDR pulled off the greatest semantic deceit of all time? How you have been enslaved by two little known crimes called personage and barratry. Now, some people have complained that we didn't show the way forward and tell people what to do with all of this outrageous information, but we did suggest plenty of action items, and we've demonstrated some of the most powerful ones. One would be just expose the rats, right? How about step outside their private and in-house courts, all capital COURTS, which is not real, they're fictitious, right? Which are in gross conflict of interest, and bring suit against them in the international courts of record. How about share information with family and friends and all the elected officials that you can find? Put the bar associations on notice. You know, they are in violation of the treaty allowing them to be here. Put members of Congress, quote unquote, on notice. They're not representing you or any other American state citizen. What about reorganize the government of continental United States, like beginning at the township level and working your way up to the state level? You have more civil authority on the land than the entire federal government. How about exercise that authority? What about let the rest of the world know what has happened here? We could rebut any false claims against you and your assets and keep on rebutting them. Research the citizens' arrest provisions of the public law. Use them as necessary. If the sheriff you elected won't honor his obligations to enforce the law of the land, elect a new sheriff to fill the proper office for your county. Give all the provost marshals and Coast Guard commanders a copy of You Know Something is Wrong When, an affidavit. It's the American Affidavit of Probable Cause. They are the ones primarily responsible for safeguarding you from being attacked in the jurisdiction of the sea, and they have most obviously been failing at their duty. Start shaking down the United Nations city-state and the New York City state. They are sitting here dry docked on our shores without our permission. All they have is approval from the quote unquote federal United States. And the federal United States doesn't have a pot and very little land that it can claim any valid interest in. Ditto the state of New York and the all caps state of New York and all caps New York, which are all just franchises of governmental service corporations run by international banks. Give a copy of You Know Something is Wrong When, an American Affidavit of Probable Cause, to the Joint Chiefs and the commanders of all the various base commands. Give them no excuse amounting to plausible deniability. We suggest that you keep records of all the various elected officials that you send the copies of the affidavit to. Send them via certified mail, return receipt requested. Use the mail receipts as proof, or better still, just deliver copies of the affidavit by process server and keep those receipts as proof the rats have been given notice and due process. There are a lot of good, innocent Americans out there occupying what appear to be public offices that they believe are public offices that they were elected into to serve. It's going to be hard for them to grasp the fact that they are instead functioning as elected private corporate officers that are a part of a foreign corporation operated by an equally foreign government that is improperly usurping jurisdiction. But tell them anyway, make them responsible for their acts. They can take the proper oath and start operating as public officials in the rightful government on the land, or they can openly admit what their actual office is. But in either case, all obfuscation and confusion about their status has to end. Once their status is made clear, your status will be really obvious. Make sure that Stuart Rhodes and Glenn Beck and Michael Savage and Mark Levin and all these other supposed experts get copies of the affidavit too. Give copies to every concerned American you can give a copy to, and make sure they read and understand the situation we are all in. It's time to take down the box now. These are just for starters. An immense educational effort must be undertaken, and lawsuits in international venues and political action that has nothing whatsoever to do with Republican or Democrat has to be undertaken also. Every other day, we get hate mail from patriots who are mad because we are bypassing their favorite theory or not honoring their process, or because this information threatens their whole conception of reality, or because they've got some kind of freedom scam going on that they're profiteering from. But this isn't about theories or escape routes or processes or selling copies. It's about demolishing the box itself. It's about reclaiming the assets and the freedom and the government you are heir to. It's about kicking their foreign interlopers and corporate raiders back into the sea. It's about literally restoring America. And it can't really wait another day. We and various others got our feet in the door before the door shut. That's why they have already assigned our will to all of you, such that you will still have to claim your private assets and claim your share of public assets too. Wake up. Get busy. Grab a piece of the work to be done. It doesn't matter who you are or where you are, your education level, your wealth, your skill. All Americans have something vital to contribute. All Americans have been called upon to deploy their resources, their time, their intellect, their skills, their determination to enforce their contracts and take back controlling interest in their own assets. To that end, it is important for everyone to get up to speed, to have a common knowledge base to work from, and to proceed accordingly. There are 3,100 counties in America. All of those counties have to be firmly rooted and defined as counties on the land and have to operate as such. From that basis, 50 states on the land must begin separate and unimpeded operations after a lapse of 150 years, okay? Some people are alarmed by the length of time that this misadministration and fraud has existed, simply because so much time has elapsed. But not so. The circumstance that has been caused is by fraud, and fraud not only destroys everything it taints, it has no statute of limitation. It doesn't matter if the fraud began yesterday or 300 years ago. Also, you must remember that you were literally sovereigns over the land jurisdiction of this country. If you don't call a Continental Congress but once in 500 years, it's nobody's to call but your own. And it is not granted to your employees to assume your death simply because you haven't taken action of this kind in a very long time. Make no mistake, we do not suggest that we are ready to call a Continental Congress, okay? There is too much ignorance, too many charlatans, and too many undeclared foreign agents to safely pursue such an action at this moment. But the day is coming when vast numbers of Americans and other people throughout the world will be able to directly address the problems of government and to wisely limit and define the role of government to best serve the peace and the best interests of the living people. We must always remember that the only valid reason for any government to exist is to preserve the peace and happiness of the living people that governments have ordained to serve. When any government instead preys upon the living people, any of the living people, it loses its legitimacy and devolves into nothing more than an organized, predatory crime syndicate. And the only real question is, who or what is it going to attack next? We have long ago reached that point of corruption in America. The federal government, claiming to represent us in the international jurisdiction of the sea, has promoted fraud against us and acted like a rabid dog throughout the rest of the world. It is our unique responsibility to address the fraud and to restrain the federal United States and put it back under the chains of the actual Constitution, or to demand its liquidation. We are now embarked on a course to do exactly that. Rather than being alarmed, Americans should realize that the arrangement with the British to control the affairs of Americans and American business interests in the international jurisdiction of the sea, through perhaps the necessary and beginning of the Republic, is no longer necessary, desirable, or appropriate. We must also realize that the British government and its agents have defaulted and acted in such egregious breach of trust that there is no question of their perfidy and criminality and misadministration of their most sacred duty and our commercial contracts with them. We cannot regret the loss of any parasitic relationship with pretended friends who have betrayed our interests and enslaved and falsely indebted us for their own enrichment. America must stand on our own 2 feet, and America is more than capable of doing so. Everybody needs to know that they should get a copy of this. You know something is wrong when. It's an American affidavit of probable cause. And I'll go ahead and put a copy of this link here in the show notes for you. So that everybody can go ahead and get their copy. All right, friends. Thank you so much for joining us and for tuning in. I look forward to seeing you guys next week at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Tuesday with Jamie for some more news on natural health and healing. All right. Have a great day. Thanks, everyone.